Hello and welcome back to the Bright Light Wellness YouTube channel and Substack. Today, I want to talk with you about something a little personal in my own healing journey. Now, I've been on a healing journey. I guess we're always on a healing journey, right? But like officially on a healing journey since 2021. And so many things about me have changed about so many things. And I think they'll continue to change always because that's just who I am. I think I'm always evolving and we should be evolving, right? That's the point. Like we should be continuing to grow and evolve. That's the point of our soul. That's the point of being here on this, on this planet in this meat suit is to continue to grow and evolve and become and, up level ourselves, up level the collective. It's when we all put this work in, then we up level as a collective. So I feel like, this has been something. My health journey has been, helping me become a better person. Really, is what I'm trying to say in a simple way. And one of the things that I think that my own health journey, the way I live my lifestyle, homeopathy, and just going through my own challenges has really helped me move away from judgment. And I think, we all judge. And I think when we judge others, we're really just judging ourselves. So I think as you heal and you're less critical to yourself, you're less critical to others. I think that's a big part of healing. And I just noticed this in the last couple of months, and it's not like this has just happened in the last couple of months, but I've just noticed it. And especially being a homeopath has brought this to light as well. And it's really helped me move away from judging others. Um, so it's that release of judgment from both myself and others. And this is huge. Like this is not a protocol. This is not anything to do with symptomology. It's just a noticing that I'm less judgmental of myself and others since, the last couple of years having a health journey. I mean, I started my health journey in 2021, right? So years ago, I saw things as much more of a black and white way. I thought people should just know better, make healthier choices, right? Um, and when I first started to heal and started to learn all these things, I was really like pressing people to do it, kind of forcing people, or like I judge them on like, oh, why aren't they doing this? Why are they eating this? Why are they acting this way? Why are they scrolling on their phone so much? Why are they not outside? Why do they wear sunglasses? Like I would judge people for all these things. Why are they taking medications? And it's like it's how can we judge somebody when we used to do the exact same thing like a long time ago? And there were times when I didn't know these things and I did a lot of those things too. Like I wore sunglasses and I ate processed and packaged foods and I was 60 pounds overweight and I took medications every time there was an ailment and I did the same thing for my kids. Like I didn't know these things better. I mean, of course, know better, do better when you like, so that would bug me. Like I would judge people because they weren't ready to hear it. They weren't ready to receive. They weren't ready to know better or to do better, or they didn't choose that. And I would still judge people in that way, I felt like. But I feel like my life, my illness, motherhood, holding space for hundreds of clients has humbled me in ways I've really never expected. I think healing yourself and healing others just makes you more compassionate. So when you've experienced chronic symptoms, fear, uncertainty, setbacks, grief, trauma, financial stress, relationship struggles, you begin to realize that healing just isn't as simple as following this perfect protocol and that understanding that people are carrying a lot of invisible burdens. Um, and wow, do I see that each and every day when people come to me for homeopathy, they sit down in front of me and I sit with them in this as a space holder in a non-judgmental way. Always. Never bring any judgment into those, and I don't have judgment in my life anymore. But I see that people are holding so much more than we realize. And it's like how we can't judge people because we have no idea what they're dealing with in the background. Like they are dealing with so much more, like especially, I do take clients that people know on Instagram and they'd be like, they wouldn't know that they're holding all of this, right? They wouldn't know that because Instagram is the highlight reel, let's be real. And they wouldn't realize all the struggles that they're actually having with on a daily basis. So we shouldn't judge people because we really just don't know the full story. And as a homeopath, you hear that full story and then you realize how much struggle is a part of something that we all have as a collective. And there might be different struggles, but it's something we all have as a collective. And then you don't judge them based on the choices that they made because you have no idea what you would do if you were in that situation, right? Because and you don't know until you're in that experience. It's like there are things that I've done in my life that I was like, oh my God, I would never think that I would have done that 10 years ago. Like, and some are positive and some are negative, right? Because we just don't know what we would do until we're in that situation. So sometimes people might look at these behaviors as negative, like in negative ways, like laziness, resistance to change, anger, perfectionism, self-sabotage. It's actually just all pain. And people need help to move through those painful experiences. And pain is due to lack of voltage, lack of cellular communication, lack of cellular energy, cellular energy not being distributed correctly in the body, or energy not being able to flow in the body. So, a little bit about me too. My own journey broke down perfectionism. I think I've said this many times. I spent years trying to do everything right. I thought, I mean, not even before I got into the health space, like we can go even beyond that. Like before I got sick, I was trying to do everything right. Perfect house, perfect wife, perfect mom, perfect kids, perfect job, perfect body image, perfect diet, perfect exercise thing. There was no room for error. You walked into my house, it was completely beautifully spick and span. The kids were, well behaved, doing what they're supposed to be doing. I looked great, fit body, even though I'm, really challenging myself and sleep deprived, like all the things. And then I got sick, and then it was the perfect diets and supplements and remedies and routines and, trying to control the outcome. But healing has taught me that, we can heal ourselves, but we're not machines. There's no perfect protocol. Progress is certainly not linear. And really, what we're meant to learn, I think, through a healing journey, at least for me, is more to surrender instead of control. I think that's been a really big piece to my healing journey is knowing that you just need to surrender. You can't control things. So my own suffering has definitely softened me. And I never want those, sorry, okay, what was your question? Hold on. Sometimes people call me on Telegram while I'm making videos. Hold on one second. I'm going to. Oh, sorry about that pause. I probably won't have time to relapse it. And see, this is letting go of perfectionism. Look, we are healing together in real time. I'm going to leave that be and not perfect it and spend too much time re-editing that video. And I'm sorry if that offends you because I don't have the time and capacity to re-edit that and we'll just keep going. So anyway, let's heal that perfectionism wound together. We don't have to be perfect. Okay. So anyway, my own suffering certainly has softened me, and homeopathy has changed the way I see people because as a homeopath, we sit down with people, I sit down with people at the hardest times of their lives because people only come to a homeopath when things are usually bad, which is not a good idea. See a homeopath, whether it's me or somebody else, before things get to the crisis situation, but often a lot of times that's when people visit a homeopath is when they're already in crisis. And, they're sharing with me everything, like on their deepest, darkest levels. So they're sharing childhood trauma, losses, fear, shame, things they've never told anybody else. And over time, you do become to realize like everyone makes sense once you understand their story. So it's like you cannot judge somebody because you just don't know what you would do in that situation if you were in that situation, because that situation is like it's like scary and unbelievable to you, or like something that you've never heard before, seen before, or never experienced personally in yourself, right? So it helps you understand the story. It helps you understand why the person is angry. It helps you understand why the person is controlling, why the mother is anxious, why the person can't move forward, right? Homeopathy has taught me to ask what happened to this person instead of what's wrong with this person. So we understand the why behind why so and so behaves a certain way, why they're jealous, why they're acting a certain way, right? It's a misattunement. It's a vibrational pattern. Maybe that's passed down ancestrally. Like I can put all these pieces together and it helps me release, or it's helped me release judgment on why people do the things they do. So I think we're all doing the best we can with our current level of awareness, right? And I no longer believe people intentionally choose to suffer. I don't think I've ever really believed that. I do think that people don't intentionally choose to suffer. However, I do believe that we choose it on some level at this soul contract level, and that suffering is supposed to teach us lessons that we can grow and evolve from. I know that's been true in my own life, but people are operating like from their own nervous system, their own upbringing, their own beliefs, their own limiting beliefs, their own traumas, their current level of energy, their current capacity, their current level of window of tolerance, all of those things. So awareness expands and choices can change, right, as that happens. So as the level of awareness increases, then they can make better choices possibly, or who knows, who's to say what's better, honestly, really? Like what we think is right is only because our thinking minds think it's right. So, that's another question I have. So I can look back at my own life and see many decisions that I would do differently now, but I was also doing the best I could with what I knew and the knowledge I had. So should I judge myself on that? Like I used to, I've gone through a lot of blame and shame of like everything that's happened in my life with my own illness journey, which has an impact on relationships in my life, which has an impact on financial things, which has an impact on my children's lives. Like because I got sick and left my teaching career and chose, like there's a lot of things, right, that I would blame and shame myself for, right? But I didn't, it's like it's not my fault. Like I didn't know the things I knew. Like I was operating from the best. Like it's not my fault that I got chronically ill, but I have definitely been on that train of blaming myself. Like, oh, what did I do to cause that chronic illness? So if you're in that space, I totally hear you when I see you, and I totally understand because I've definitely been there. So, it's not your fault, number one. I want to say that really, seriously, truly. Um, Judgment often comes from our own unhealed parts. So if we are judging others, we have our own healing work to do. And I feel like because I noticed that I'm not judging others in like the last, I don't know, say year or so, that means I've done some good healing work in myself, which makes me proud. But sometimes things we judge most harshly are the things we struggle, excuse me, to accept in ourselves. We are mirrors, right? So when we're judging somebody else, we're really judging ourselves. Everybody's a mirror for us to learn from. So we're like, oh, I'm judging somebody else, but that really is what we're struggling with too, to accept about ourselves. So healing has shown me that compassion and boundaries can exist together. We can hold both at the same time. We can have compassion for people, but we can also have boundaries. And moving away from judgment doesn't mean I agree with everything that people say. I tolerate abuse or, abandon discernment. It means that I recognize humanity in people and I don't, we're all human beings having a human experience and we don't know what we would do until we were in that same situation or that same path. And funnily enough, I was just talking with a friend of mine about a story about how my kid was judged one time for misbehaving at a party when he was very, 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 very little. And, the somebody had said, "Oh, I'm never gonna let my kid behave that way." And he wasn't even really misbehaving, in my opinion. Like I was a pretty like controlling mother, and I honestly didn't think his behavior was like he wasn't having attention, he wasn't loud. He was just kind of playing with things that maybe the person didn't want him to play with. And they didn't have children yet, and now they have children, and I know she would not have judged them now the way she did because her children are not able, they're not the best behaved kids and they do much worse. And it's because you judge because you're not thinking. Like I did that too. Like I was a special ed teacher and I was like, oh, I'm going to have the best behaved kids. I'm going to control them, all the things, right? Because I'm such a good job at like controlling my own children in my classroom and making them well behaved. And then I had kids and I was like, oh, well, I really cannot control them completely. And that judgment of the way other people took care of their kids went step to the side. So it's all like the life is all this like learning lesson, right? And we're just human beings having a human experience, right? We can have compassion for human beings and what they're going through. I definitely become more of a compassionate, empathetic person throughout the years as well on my own healing journey. And astrology has definitely deepened this understanding for me and helped me validate people. I just was working with a client and he's a great client and he's a very sweet man and he's really dealing with burnout and he keeps going through this cycle of burnout and my I'm like, oh my God. Like I looked at his chart and I'm like, well, it's kind of written in the stars that you're going to burn yourself out very easily. based off of your astrology chart. Like it's not your fault. Like sometimes these patterns are constitutionals. Some people burn through energy more rapidly than others. It's not your fault. Like it's like some things, like the fact that I hold on to toxicity more than others based on my astrology chart, based on my own natal chart, that's not my fault. That's constitutional. Like, does it help me bring in supports that can support that in me? Well, yes, same thing for this client. Will I bring in supports that help him with that? Yes. But the point is, like some things, like astrology is very validating, right? Because there's different temperaments, there's different personalities, there's different soul lessons that remind me that people are all not the same, and that what we're going to struggle with sometimes is just kind of written in the stars a little bit, and we need to work with that energy instead of against that energy. And when you know that, then you can like release the blame and the shame and start working with it instead of working against it. Some people are fiery and direct, and some people are more sensitive and emotional, right? If you are a water sign, or if you have a lot of water in your chart, you are gonna be more sensitive to the environment. You are gonna likely be more sensitive to emotional things. You have Cancer, Scorpio, I hear you. Like Pisces, boundaries are difficult. I get it, right? Some people are going to be more intellectual, some people are going to be more detached. Like these things, more some people like Libra rising are going to want peace, balance, and harmony with all their heart, right? It matters to them so much. It doesn't mean you did anything wrong. There's no blame or shame. It's just constitutional, like who you are and what your soul choose to learn, because your soul choose to be born in that exact moment. So what your soul choose to learn is these lessons, right? So the more I heal, the less certain I become. Ironically, healing has made me hold opinions more lightly. I know how much I don't know. Like I know a lot, but there's so much I don't know. So I'm more humbled, right, in that way. I watch people heal in ways I can't explain. I've seen remedies work in ways I didn't expect them to work. I've seen remedies that I really expect to work not work, right? Or protocols that I expect to really help not. I see both ways, right? But then this, I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. And then it goes really well, right? I've seen people change when they finally felt seen and understood, which is a big part of sitting with down with a homeopath. You will feel seen and understood, right? In huge, huge ways, because you're being seen without judgment from a homeopath. So I try to approach people with curiosity, not judgment, because every person is carrying a story that we do not see and we do not know. And maybe healing isn't about fixing our bodies. Maybe one of the deepest forms of healing is learning to see ourselves and each other with more compassion. So we don't want to judge ourselves. We want to see ourselves with compassion and see others with compassion as well. So, I'm curious if you've had a healing journey and it's made you more compassionate, made you less judgmental. Have you seen this? I'd love to hear in your own experience, the comments below, because I think when I first learned things, I was like, why doesn't everybody know this? And everybody needs to know this information, and everybody should be doing this. And as soon as I tell them they should change, people are not going to change until they're ready for change. And that was other acceptance that I've had to learn a few times in my life, right? So, I hope this has been helpful, supportive. It's kind of an all over the place video, but I try to approach people with curiosity instead of judgment. I want you to know about me as a healer and how I work. So I'm curious, not judgmental when we work together. Because like I said, you're carrying a story that I don't know about, right? There's things that are going like, so I don't want you to ever feel like you can't tell, you could should be able to be honest with your homeopath and tell them whatever you need to tell them, because that's going to help them understand you better, but also that's going to, you should have that kind of clear relationship where you can say anything to your homeopath, because that helps them understand you better, and they're not going to judge you. They're going to see you and hear you and support you. And healing is certainly not just about fixing our bodies, it's learning to see ourselves and see others with more compassion. So, anyway, um, being seen by a homeopath can truly be healing in itself. Just being witnessed and sharing your story at a deep level in a space like somebody holding that space for you, whether that's me or another homeopath, holding that space so you know, right, that you're supported, and that you can tell and share your story. Okay. Um, so many people are carrying fear, grief, stories that they've never felt safe enough to share. And often the last thing people need is more criticism or another person telling them what they did wrong. They need a space where they can show up exactly as they are and be met with compassion and not judgment. That's the heart behind the work that I do. And if you're looking for a practitioner who will listen, that's what truly healed me first. I told my first homeopath it wasn't the remedies that helped me, it was being seen and heard and validated. That was huge. So if you're looking for a practitioner who will listen deeply, honor your unique story, and walk alongside you without judgment, I would be honored to support you. You don't have to navigate this alone. You can work with me one to one by visiting brightlightwellnesscoach.com. Links are in the show notes, of course. I am accepting new clients, and if this resonated with you, please send me a message. Contact at brightlightwellnesscoach.com is my email, and I'd love to hear in the comments, what has helped you become more compassionate toward yourself and others in your own healing journey. All right, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day.